Hi, welcome to Operation Fishing Freedom. Today it's my honor to share the boat with U.S. Army veteran Glenn Franks. Glenn served with the Big Red 1 during the Vietnam War.
Military veterans protect our great nation. Pro anglers Jay Garstecki and Ben Olson made it their duty to honor our heroes. They want to share soldiers' stories. The perfect place to carry out this mission? A fishing boat. Get ready to launch Operation Fishing Freedom. Brought to you by Great Clips.
All is quiet in the town of Madison, Wisconsin.
Come on board. Welcome, Glenn.
Oh, thank
Great
you.
to have you in the boat today.
Glenn Franks appreciates the peace.
Good to be here.
We got a beautiful day. Let's get out there and see what we can do.
Sure.
Glenn grew up around these parts, and
yeah.
he still calls Wisconsin home. Today, he hopes to hook a fish or two or three.
So let's just get comfortable and toss them around a little bit. Oh, come on, this guy's an all-star. Oh, there's one. Oh, look at this. Oh, we're in business. It's a monster, Glenn. Look at that one.
Yeah, hey. Well, boat's been baptized.
There you go. Well, it's not much, but it's a start. We'll take it.
Not just a day of fishing, but a day to remember. Glenn grew up a farm kid. Seems he always offered to lend a helping hand. But in 1966, life dealt the 19-year-old a hand he never expected.
So how'd you get into the military, Glenn?
I was drafted. You get a letter in the mail with your draft card, and then you report to the draft station. And that night you're in the Army down in Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Literally overnight, the Wisconsin farm kid found himself in Army boot camp.
Shaved your head, of course.
Yep.
Up it comes. Was there about 2 weeks, maybe 3, I'm not positive.
Glenn starts to share his story. The fish start to nibble.
There you go. Glenn's on the board. Oh, look at that bluegill. That's a beauty. That's a full handful right there.
Yeah, it is.
So how long were you in before you went in country?
Just about a year.
Glenn wrestled his way through basic training, but struggled with the unknown.
You didn't know. They went down a roster of names, so who was staying, who was going. You know, eventually you were gonna go.
Eventually, Glenn's name made the list. He shipped out first to Chicago, then through Seattle, Alaska, Hawaii, Japan, and finally Vietnam.
Yeah, it was hot, around 100 degrees. Humidity was probably almost 100%. And you break out sweating right away. It's like a heat wave hitting you.
Glenn was part of history, the history of the Army's 1st Infantry Division, the fighting first that led American troops in World War I, a crew also known as the Big Red 1.
Could you tell it was a special thing to be a part of the Big Red 1?
At the time, no, I didn't realize that it was. You know, everybody had to be in a unit someplace, and
Yeah.
that's the one that I got assigned to.
The 1st Infantry would guide Glenn right into the middle of war.
Shake, you know, I was shaking, scared. I'm not afraid to admit that. A person that wasn't scared was crazy.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by Great Clips, Recon Boats, and by Evinrude Outboards.
If you'd like to get some cool Operation Fishing Freedom gear,
Or simply make a donation so that we can take more veterans fishing.
log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com.
All right, let's regroup here. All right, now they're smelling what we're cooking.
We regroup, not only with the fishing, but also with conversation. Veteran Glenn Franks usually never talks about Vietnam.
Well, I was assigned to 1st Aviation Battalion. You had A and B companies. It started out with A Company.
Glenn slowly settled into his new role, so far from home.
Because the company usually would go out as a complete unit. But if you were a detachment, then if anybody needed help someplace or needed support somewhere, they could send you out there. A lot of times it was finding individuals that went down in a plane or a chopper, recovering equipment if possible. If not, you blow it to hell. So they couldn't use any parts of it, but they still gathered the remnants of sheet metal or whatever.
Glenn worked search and destroy missions. He also spent time in a helicopter unit called the Pathfinders.
Did you see action with the Pathfinders? Was that,
Yes.
what kind of work was that?
You could say it was like a search and destroy stuff too, but government didn't like the word search and destroy.
Yeah.
Changed it to seek and find.
Oh, come on. I am just the worst fisherman ever.
They're not hitting very hard. They're
Glenn always encourages with a positive word, but opening up about war does not come quite as easily.
So we were talking about the Pathfinders, Glenn. Was there one mission or one memory you had doing those missions that stood out?
Yeah, that's one where I kind of got shot at a little bit, got hit a little.
You got hit a little?
Yeah,
You got shot.
we were near a rice paddy there, and I had a bullet come down the rifle, split my finger open. And it hit me in the chest there. But I had a flak jacket on, so, it busted my sternum.
The .50 caliber round ricocheted and hit Glenn's flak jacket. The impact snapped his sternum.
Getting hit by a .50 caliber and survive, because, if it would have been a direct hit, I'd have been gone.
Glenn returned to action, this time underground.
Sometimes the enemy attacked recklessly and sometimes he holed up. Then he had to be blown out, or foot soldiers had to go in after them. These volunteers were known as tunnel rats, and no fighting men were more admired for their courage and nerve.
Being small, I'd just barely get through. I had a knife and .45, flashlight. There was no fast process. It was very slow going because you had to look out for any kind of booby trap in there. tripwire, it could be, if the ground was a little soft, it could be a mine there.
The North Vietnamese rigged the tunnels with deadly punji stakes, explosives, even live animals.
Did you run into booby traps? Did you ever set one off?
No, I never did. Did come across one where they had a snake tied to end of a root.
A snake?
Yeah, they'd kind of place them up above or something like that there. And
So I bet you get over your claustrophobia real quick and your fear of snakes at the same time.
oh, I still don't like snakes.
Yeah,
I
bet.
hate them.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by Great Clips, SKB Cases, and by St. Croix Rods.
I tried to figure out a way to spend time with my dad. So we started fishing together.
Now you got them.
And we took our first fishing trip a little over a year ago. We had a good time, and it's something that me and him can do together in the outdoors. As long as he's healthy and able, we're going to continue to make that trip.
If you'd like to see more behind-the-scenes footage and bonus content,
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. If you're a U.S. military veteran living in Illinois, Wisconsin, or Minnesota,
log on to takeevetfishing.org to find an event near you. There's one. Oh, what do we got here?
Vietnam veteran Glenn Franks shares the fishing boat.
Well, that water temp cooled down and
Yeah, it did.
And shares his tale. A story of war in the jungles of Vietnam. These are the stories Glenn never shares.
Out of my platoon, I was the only one that came back.
Fallen soldiers, friends, never forgotten.
I was gone on another mission, and when the 4 other guys were killed, they were setting up a perimeter and never really did know exactly what happened, but they could have got ambushed.
Only one soldier survived in Glenn's entire platoon.
After that, I never got close to anybody. Didn't want to know where they were from, or if they were married or not.
11 months of fighting in Vietnam took a toll on Glenn, both physically and mentally. He counted the days, hoping one day Vietnam's freedom bird might come.
That's what we called them, was freedom birds.
The planes?
Yeah,
Why'd you call them that?
because they take you home. I was out in the field, and they said, your time is up, you're going home. And I told them, well, I got to get back to the barracks, get some of my stuff packed up. And he said, that's already been done.
For Glenn, unknowingly, chaos awaited his return home.
Walking down the aisle from the plane and that there, you know, there was people in there that were yelling at you and that there. And this one girl, she come up and hit me over the head with a baseball bat, and it caught me on the shoulder and the back, and she hit a couple other ones. And they were calling you baby killers and stuff like that there. I mean, didn't make you feel good. For a long time after that, I was ashamed coming home.
This week's nonprofit of the week, Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Their mission is to honor and preserve the legacy of service and educate all generations about the impact of the Vietnam War. Go to their website for more information.
If you'd like to personally thank a vet that you saw in one of our episodes,
Or nominate a veteran to be featured in a future episode,
log on to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com.
Operation Fishing Freedom is brought to you by Optima Batteries, Power Pole, and by Temple Bay Lodge.
For Vietnam veteran Glenn Franks, the trip home from war was not what the young soldier expected.
Like I said, didn't have any bad luck. I have no luck at all.
Traveling through crowds of war protesters, Glenn finally caught a flight to Milwaukee.
So I hired a taxi. He took me all the way home to downtown Lake Mills and walked the rest of the way home at about maybe 7.5 miles.
so 7, all that, and then a 7-mile walk home. That's a tough trip home.
Well, not really. That was a good walk. That was a good walk.
Glenn, like all soldiers, began the slow and sometimes painful process of putting the pieces of life back together.
I'd have my good days and bad days. I mean, I'd have nightmares at night, even after I got married. That was about 2 years after I got home. Sharon helped a lot, and family, you know, the kids and that there, you know, you enjoyed them, watch them grow up.
Alcohol became Glenn's medication.
I gave him a choice, and I said it's either me and the kids or the alcohol, and that was it.
Glenn stopped drinking and buried his war stories.
So as I got older, I started researching on my own to try to find out what he had went through. I talked to a couple of his brothers, and found out that he really had it rough over there.
Glenn's family now understands the struggle of war veterans only because Glenn finally chose to share his story.
They should tell it. It would make them feel better, and let the families know what it was like over there.
In retirement, Glenn vowed to pay forward and try and help other veterans.
About 4 or 5 of us, we worked memorial there for veterans. It was getting shabby, and we put brick all the way around it.
In this work and in this park, Glenn finds peace. It is the work of a soldier, now complete.
I'm on there, and my 2 brothers are on there. I mean, they're life-size images of us.
Well, Glenn, I know they didn't appreciate you much when you came home then. But we want you to know how much we appreciate you now. So I got a couple of things for you, all right? We got this custom rod for you. It's got all the branches of the service there. It's got our logo, got your name on it. And then look at this, we got your very own jersey, just like the one I'm wearing. Got your name on there. And I want to say welcome home.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much, Glenn, and the entire Franks family for your service and your sacrifice to protect our freedoms. If you know a veteran you'd like to see featured on an upcoming episode, go to our website, operationfishingfreedom.com, and click on the Nominate button.